Close to Turin, on a hilltop called Superga, one can find a basilica with the same name. A not all too popular tourist attraction, close to a not all touristic city, the Basilica of Superga has an interesting history, which is emblematic for Italy's recent history. The construction of the basilica started in 1717, 11 years after the Siege of Turin of 1706 by France. In 1706, after having occupied large parts of the territory belonging to the Duke of Savoy, son King Louis XIV had the intention to complete his invasion of the domains of the dukes by capturing the capital, Turin. Louis XIV of France and the Duke of Savoy had been in a difficult relationship for years. At the end of the 17th century, the Sun King had been expanding his power, both in his own country as abroad. To much of Europe, he was seen as the strongest power on the continent. At the same time, he was propagating a staunchly Catholic policy which antagonized Protestant countries. In 1688, Louis XIV enforced the claim of his sister-in-law to the Palatinate in the Holy Roman Empire, now part of Germany. In response to this, the Great Alliance was formed, a coalition against France comprising of the United Provinces, England, Scotland, and Ireland under William III of Orange, and Austria, Spain, and Savoy. When the 9 Years' War concluded, a few years later, in 1701, another conflict broke out, in which the opposing parties were very similar, the War of Spanish Succession. For Duke Amadeus of Savoy, these conflicts offered both opportunity and peril. For over a decade, the Sun King had demanded untempered crossing through the domains of the Duke to reach French possessions, and the King had even posed an ultimatum to the Duke to deal with the Protestants in his region. The Duke had tolerated this and even waged war on his Protestant subjects, but when the King asked the Duke to join his side during the conflict, this could offer a way out of the subordinate position he found himself in. Furthermore, the Duke's first cousin, Prince Eugenio of Savoy, had left French court some years before and had joined the court of Austria in Vienna. There, the prince fell in favor with the Austrian emperor and was appointed the commander in the Italian theater of operations. The opportunity offered by the conflict, in combination with his family ties, led to the Duke join his cousin and sided with the Great Alliance. This turned out to be a military disaster. While during the 9 Years' War, Savoy remained a secondary theater of operations. During the War of Spanish Succession, the French king was determined to occupy the territories belonging to the Duke. Stronghold after stronghold fell, and the situation seemed desperate for the Duke. In 1706, the Sun King marched on the capital, Turin, and besieged it. The Duke of Savoy and Prince Eugenio climbed the Superga hill on August 28 of 1706 to take a look at the invading army of Louis XIV. They determined where the French siege was at its weakest points. On the 2nd of September, they climbed the hill again and assisted a mass in a small parochial church which was located on the hill. During the mass, the Duke kneeled before the statue of Mary and took a vow that, in case of victory, he would erect a basilica in her name on the hill. And so it happened. After the siege was broken, the Duke and the Prince won the battle and the war ended. In 1717, the construction of the basilica started, and it was finished 14 years later, in 1728. Another 6 years later, in 1774, Victor Amadeus III decided to construct a crypt to entomb the members of the Savoy family. Many members of the family are buried here. The most recent burials took place in 2021 and 2024. However, the first kings of Italy, Victor Emmanuel I of Savoy and Hubertus I, were buried in the Pantheon in Rome.